Did you see the news? Kai Asakura has his first UFC fight scheduled, and it's such a big one. He's going to be fighting Alexandre Pantoja at UFC 310 on December 7th in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Dana White just announced this news on social media, and I've got some thoughts about this fight. Kai Asakura, he signed with the UFC earlier this year. There was speculation that he may fight at bantamweight, speculation he may fight at flyweight. And then there was the rumors that he would be getting a title shot in his first fight in the UFC. Now, I can imagine there's probably a lot of different fan reaction to this, since the nature of the fight is that Kai Asakura is getting an immediate title shot in the UFC. I can imagine some fans probably not too thrilled about this because it's not typically the kind of fight that the UFC makes. They don't typically just hand title shots over to new signees right away. It wouldn't have been a terrible thing just to have Kai Asakura fight one other flyweight contender, put him against Amir Albazi. A lot of different options there, but they opted to just give him a title shot. It's really even hard to think of other situations where the UFC even recently has given immediate title shots to new signees, but the flyweight division is a little bit different. For a lot of MMA fans, they probably have no idea who Kai Asakura is. He's well loved within the Japanese MMA community. A lot of hardcore fans that watch Ryzen know who he is, but really probably no one else. So for them, this is the UFC just bringing in some unknown Japanese competitor to fight for the title. So probably the question a lot of people are asking, is there another flyweight title fight that should have been made, or was this the fight to make all along? Let's take a look at some of the top flyweight contenders real quick, shall we? First up, you got Kai Asakura, who very impressively just beat Steve Erseg in Australia in September. He's a little bit iffy for me. Overall, he's still 1-2 in his last 3 fights. He had 2 straight losses to Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi before the win over Erseg. So to me, he hasn't quite solidified himself as a top contender just yet, but potentially with one more win, he'll be right there. You also have Brandon Moreno, who's coming off back-to-back losses over Brandon Royval and the champ Alexandre Pantoja. Not a great option. Tatsuro Taira and Brandon Royval are scheduled to fight each other. Mohamed Mokaev out of the picture. Manel Kape just lost. Really the only argument you could make for another fighter getting the flyweight title shot is Amir Albazi. Should he have gotten the fight? Well, I'm okay with him not getting the fight, and here's why. You look at his record in the UFC, sure, he's 5-0, and really the only fight that he's had against ranked competition in the UFC is a split decision win over Kai Asakura. He was supposed to fight Brandon Moreno earlier this year in Mexico City. I believe he had a hand injury, and so he had to drop out of that fight. Is he ready for the title shot? Fighting just one ranked contender in the UFC. If the UFC has an option between Albazi versus Moreno and Asakura versus Moreno, I feel like it's not crazy to think that Asakura versus Pantoja might be the more exciting fight. Asakura has a really exciting style, really aggressive, hits hard. I think that could make for a better title fight. I think he will probably be the underdog in that fight. And when talking about the selection of Kai Asakura to fight for the belt, I think that you can't go without talking about the massive upside that this could bring for the UFC. You have a new Japanese champion, your first Japanese UFC champion, a really exciting fighter. All of a sudden, your Japanese MMA market is lit up. So there's a lot of upside for the UFC to have that fight over Albazi. That's not to say Albazi won't be getting in a title shot soon. They could even make him the backup, who knows? So we'll have to see how flyweight unfolds. Also the winner of Royval versus Taira, I could definitely see that fighter getting the next flyweight title shot as well. How is Asakura going to fare against Pantoja? Well, I've gone back and forth on this. You know, Asakura, he's much better as a striker. He hits really hard. He's really aggressive. He does have a lot of defensive liabilities. You know, at first I was wondering, is he going to just be another victim of Pantoja's wet blanket kind of style? And is he going to be on his back the whole fight? He could, but you know, the more I thought about it and looked at who he's fought a lot of really good grapplers and wrestlers. He's fought Ogi Kubo. He's fought Kyoji Horiguchi's a pretty good grappler. Most recently, he fought Juan Archuleta, who tried but was unable to take Asakura down. Asakura finished him with a counter knee, really looked good in that fight. So I'm not totally convinced that Pantoja is just gonna run over him. I feel like in my heart, I still kind of think that Pantoja is probably gonna win this fight through the grappling, but who knows? He could get beat up quite a bit on the feet from Asakura striking. Very interesting fight. Hey, let me know your thoughts on the fight, how you think it's gonna go. Do you think Asakura can pull off the upset? Let me know, and we'll see you next time.